Welcome, everyone, to a Dose of Wisdom Real Estate podcast, where you can get your daily dose of wisdom on all things real estate related. I'm your host, David Stein, and today we have the privilege of having as our guest Mike Tedesco. Mike is the CEO and one of the founders of Appraisal Nation, one of the largest appraisal management companies in the country. Appraisal Nation has had phenomenal success and has grown to do over 20,000 appraisals a month and has relationships with close to 30,000 appraisers. Mike, thank you again for coming on the show.
David, thank you for having me.
Okay. So my first question for you is, what is the backstory to how you started Appraisal Nation?
Sure. I was a vice president of a regional appraisal company doing business. At that time, we started in 2 states. I grew them to 6 or 7. And I looked at that model and I knew that I could do this nationwide. I had a few nationwide clients at the time. We had very good relationships. And really, that's the entire premise, I think, of a good founding business. Even today, all businesses is about the relationship.
Right.
But we were able to cultivate those relationships and transition in 2006 to a nationwide platform and rebrand in 2007 to Appraisal Nation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You started it with your brother, or
No, my brother was actually my vice president of development for over a decade. He did our sales and development for us. He did an amazing job. But it was actually I had 2 partners, Anthony Mattia and Brian McSheehy, were great partners for 16 years with me, and they helped me really grow. The 3 of us walked up in my attic one day and started putting in 16-hour days, 7 days a week, and
wow.
Went right through the crash, the 07, 08, 09 times, and luckily we were able to build relationships, very small relationships through that in time paid off for us.
Right. Okay. Can you point to specific steps that your company took that allowed you to grow the business to the scale that it is today?
Absolutely. I can tell you without a doubt, we have done almost every single account. We have over 3,000 lenders use us, and almost every single one was met with a handshake. So for us, it's been a very personal touch relationship. In 2009, we made an aggressive plan to start going to conferences. So we looked at, hey, if we save a few marketing dollars, where can we put those? And my thought process has always been, I want to meet the person. I want to speak to them. I want to really explain how we can help them, really see what our value is for them. And by doing that over and over, we were able to build really strong relationships, break bread with people, become friends with people, eventually become family with people. And that's been our model, and it's been extremely successful for us.
Right. Well, the conferences definitely bring value. I think I remember meeting some of the representatives from Appraisal Nation at some conferences.
In 2019, I believe, we were doing as many as 53, 54 conferences a year.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're pretty busy on the conference circuit. That was a major step. Another big step for us, where a lot of appraisal management companies focused on retail and wholesale for business. Appraisal Nation took a different stance. We went in the private lending sector back in 2009, and we captured a large amount of private lending business before anyone even understood the space. So by 2016, we were doing probably 65% of capitalized private lending. Institutions like KKR, Fortress, Finance of America, those type of companies that we were doing their business.
Right. Okay. Are there specific technological innovations that Appraisal Nation has implemented in order for you to offer a better product?
Yes. Most appraisers are required to use standard use path forms. So ultimately, the end user will see the same form, whether that's a 1004 interior or 2055 exterior. So the form type may be the same, but in terms of completion time, in terms of being able to communicate and expedite services, we utilized a software that helped us integrate with our lenders software face to face. So that was extremely important to us to have that integration.
Right.
That helped tremendously. And we integrate now, I believe, with 12 or 13 different LOSs, or loan originating softwares. And that's been a key part of helping us develop and grow.
Right. Okay. Do you have any horror stories involving appraisers having difficulty getting access to properties? And how do they navigate that situation?
I could give you 100 horror stories. Um, Difficulty to access, difficulties with appraisers, difficulties with homeowners. We've had uh, a million stories. When you're dealing with 26,000 appraisers throughout the country, it's an aging population. Some of the appraisers are in their 80s now and still appraising.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll receive in mail. Just recently, I think a few months ago, we actually received a paper appraisal in mail, hand typed, pictures glued onto the paper. It was quite the treat to see something, and that's really how we used to deliver appraisals back in the late '90s, early '90s. But we still saw that. Surprisingly, that was actually in New York, upstate, but it was New York.
Right.
But there are a lot of different stories that we see every day on a daily basis. Not getting access is key in, especially in private lending, with a lot of investor portfolios,
Right.
trying to get the renters to get us in. We've had appraisers attacked by dogs. We've had shotguns pulled on people by accident.
Wow.
Things of that nature. But look, it's one of those businesses where you're going to someone's home, and we make sure that we're announced and we're prepared and we have identification.
Right.
It's important that we make sure that we're welcome.
Okay. Do you foresee artificial intelligence having an impact on how appraisals are conducted?
David, that's such a great question, because we just had a conference. The National Private Lenders Association just held a conference last week in Key Biscayne. I was on a
Right.
panel. On that panel, that exact same question was discussed with 5 of us. And the answer, resounding yes, from all 5 of us across the board. Uh, Artificial intelligence right now is growing at a pace that we've never seen before. If you're familiar with Chat GPT,
Yeah, you
I made the distinction, to people's surprise, that I actually believe Chat GPT will probably be a fossil before it's even a dinosaur. The new Google that is coming out, what it's doing will actually do quadruple what Chat GPT is doing. And Chat GPT is amazing. So it's really quite impressive what they're doing. So the question now is, how do we utilize that for good? How do we utilize that across all different industries to be helpful, to be more efficient, to be more cost effective? And that's the things that we're looking at. One of the things that we've recently done is, in our interview process, as we're hiring, we use Chat GPT to determine best resumes. So we literally submit resumes through Chat GPT, have it look at it, and tell us what it thinks the ideal candidates are. We've done this a handful of times, and every person we've interviewed that Chat GPT has recommended, we've actually hired.
That's incredible.
So it's quite a surprising process, because I really was a skeptic, and then but it's been good.
Wow. Okay. Any notable appraisals that were ordered through Appraisal Nation that were especially challenging, and how was the appraiser able to successfully complete that appraisal?
Wow. I haven't been in the individual appraisal space for many years now. I can tell you we've had instances that rise to my desk. They're important instances. They've risen to the desk of the CEO of very large companies, whether it be UWM or RCN Capital. It's going up to their level. It's an important file. And
Right.
when they come to me, we've heard some pretty interesting scenarios. We have one right now where we originally appraised it for 2.4 million. It was a very nice home in Florida. The lender thought it was, I think, 5 or 6 million.
Right.
So, that's a very large discussion with a very large variance. So we've done a free desk review. We've gotten additional appraisers involved to do multiple reviews on it. We want to make sure that the valuation that we give, that the lender hangs its hat on, is the most sound, so they are secure on their investment.
Right. Okay. What were some major challenges that you have faced in your career, and how did you overcome these challenges?
Um, Another important question. Uh, well, we've had several significant obstacles that we've been able to overcome to really help bring Appraisal Nation into a top 10 appraisal management company in America. One of the biggest was the housing crisis in 07, 08.
Right.
That challenge, we were a new company. We were within a year of a startup. And when the market crashed, it was an absolute nightmare. And if you were in that space at that time, everyone knows the well dried up immediately,
Right.
and people were just fighting for water everywhere they could. So what we did, we were based in Raleigh, North Carolina at the time. I think at that time we had about five of us, and a group of five. I did our sales and development. I would go to Charlotte, North Carolina every Friday, about a 3 hour drive. And I would just pound the doors, knock on everyone's door, and everyone would say the same thing. I don't have business. I'm not familiar with you. We don't have anything to do right now. And I would say, I understand. I just want to let you know who I am. Maybe I could take you to lunch. I'll come back next week. And then next Friday, I do the same thing. And next Friday, I do the same thing. And we did this for about 2 years. So every
Wow.
Friday, every Monday, I would go door to door, asking if I could take them to lunch, sit down and ask about their valuation process. Every Monday, I'd follow up and sit down and have lunch with whoever said yes. Back and forth, 3 hours each way. Typically, that would be about a 20-hour day for me on Fridays and Mondays. We did this through 2010. And then finally, out of that, we received about 24 amazing clients who still use us today. Some of our oldest clients, a Legacy Federal Credit Union, which is RJ Reynolds Tobacco Company's credit union.
Right.
There's long-standing relationship clients who have been with us a very long time. And those relationships now, like I said, they're more like family to us. People we trust, and we know their children, and we take care of them. So that was a huge challenge, but I think that we could have looked at it two ways. We could have folded up shop and said we chose a bad time, which many people did. Or my approach was, I believe in the model. I believe in what we're doing. We
Yeah.
were providing a service to small to mid-sized companies that only large companies were getting at the time. Only the largest companies were getting a high quality service level from appraisal management companies back in 06, 07. If you weren't one of them, the large AMCs didn't care about you, and everyone else pushed you to the side. So our goal was to focus on those small to mid-sized lenders, and that's really what established us. That was a huge challenge for us. I think we overcame with grace, and we overcame definitely on the upswing for us.
Okay, that's quite impressive. Okay, so my final question to you is, what are your projections for the real estate market for the next 12 months?
I think I'm a lot more robust and excited about it than most people are. I think that we have, at least in most markets, I shouldn't say all markets, because I can tell you this is very unique in that we're seeing the market become a lot more of the indicator locally than nationally. So, in previous times, the whole country would go down, the whole country would go up, but we're not seeing that to be the case this time. We're seeing the southeast part of the country is still doing well. Texas, your Florida, your Carolinas, Tennessee, those areas are really still thriving,
Right.
and that's going to help. On top of all of this, you have we talked about the influx of people coming in. There's a shortage of supply in the purchase market, a huge shortage of supply right now, and it
Right.
can't keep up with that influx. So when the people do get off the sidelines, there's not going to be a lot of homes to buy. So that's going to be another challenge.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. And hopefully we could have you again sometime.
Wow. It's been a great conversation. Happy to help and appreciate you letting me on.
All right. Have a good day.
Thanks, David.